Hi everyone, this is Anurag. Today in this tutorial we are going to see about background processes. Okay, so this is our database. This is RAM. On RAM some space is allocated called as SGA. Okay, whatever operation you want to do to the data present in the database, that is taken to SGA. In SGA only all the operations related to data is performed. After the completion, the data should be taken back to database. Okay, this communication between SGA and the database is done by something called as background processes. Hence combination of SGA and background process is called as a instance. Okay, let us see this background process. There are three types of background process. Okay, they are mandate background process, optional background process, slave background process. Okay, what are mandate background process? Without this background process we cannot start the database. Those are called as mandate background process. Okay, some background process will be there. Without having those background process also we can start the database, but for some additional features we need this optional background process. Okay, those are optional background process. Mandate background process are mandatory, optional are not needed but they are used sometimes. Okay, slave background process are the background process. What are this background process? These background process work on behalf of other background process. Okay, these are called as slave background process. Now let us see all the background process now. So the first background process, the mandate background process that we are going to see is DB writer. Okay, first one, DB writer. DB writer stands for database writer. Here N means multiple DB writer process can be invoked. Okay, this is DB writer. What a DB writer will do? This is SGA, this is database buffer cache, this is log buffer cache, shared pool, library cache, data dictionary cache. What is this? This is a data file. Okay, these are data blocks. Okay, these are buffers. Okay, data from the data file is taken to SGA. Suppose I want to update 5000 to 6000. Some salary is there 5000. I want to update it to 6000. So the operation can be done in the database buffer cache. So the data from the data file is taken to DBBC by server process. Here after the completion of operations, okay, the modified data is written back to the data file by DB writer. Okay, this is called as DB writer. Okay, let us see the remaining background process. DB writer is a background process which is a mandate background process which flushes the data from database buffer cache to the DBF files. Okay, the next background process which we will see is log writer. Okay, log writer, same, this is log buffer cache. These are redo log files, file 1, file 2. Okay, all the change information, change vectors are stored in log buffer cache. The change vectors from log buffer cache are flushed from log buffer cache to the redo log files by a background process called as log writer. Okay, log writer flushes the data from log buffer cache to the redo log files. Okay, the data in this redo log file is called as redo data, which is used for recovery purpose. Okay, recovery purpose, this redo data will be used. Okay, so next let us see another background process called as checkpoint. This is also a mandate background process. So next background process is checkpoint. What is this checkpoint? Let us see. See, this is database buffer cache, this is log buffer cache, these are redo log files, and this is a data file. Now all the change information is stored in log buffer cache, right? Log writer flushes this data to the redo log file. Suppose this is filled with data. Now the upcoming change information will be stored in the next redo log file. This event is called as log switch. Okay, whenever log switch occurs, checkpoint occurs. Whenever checkpoint occurs, a background process called checkpoint, it will call db writer. Okay, db writer. Whenever db writer comes, it will flush data from database buffer cache to the dbf files. Okay, when this db writer flushes lru and mru from database buffer cache to the data files, checkpoint updates this SCN number. It updates SCN number, that is checkpoint information in two areas. Those are control file and data file headers. Okay, so this checkpoint, what is the significance of this checkpoint? From last checkpoint only, instance or media recovery starts. Okay, recovery starts from last checkpoint. Okay, instance recovery means when instance is crashed. Media recovery means entire data file or anything is crashed, that is checkpoint. Okay, now next concept we are going to see is smon, next background process. Now next concept, next smon background process. Smon stands for system monitor process. So what is the significance of this? Means suppose log information, the changes are stored in log buffer cache, etc., right? Redo log files, right? Suppose this instance is crashed, what will happen? This smon is responsible for performing instance crash recovery. Okay, this is about instance crash recovery. Automatically smon will perform instance crash recovery, and this smon is responsible for cleaning up temporary table space. Okay, temporary tables space segments are removed from the temporary table space by smon. Then there is one more background process, important background process called as pmon. Pmon stands for process monitor. What a process monitor will do? For example, there are three user process, P1, P2, P3. They are using R1 resource. Now P1 is a user process which is using R1. It has a lock. It got a lock over R1 resource. P1 is using R1. P2, P3 also want to use resource R1, but they cannot. Why? Because P1 is using. This P1 process left without any information. Okay, without any intimation. As a result, this lock will be there. This process will wait for long time, even though the lock will not release. Why? Because this person P1, this user process went without any intimation. So process monitor pmon will monitor all the process, and it will look that this process went out without any information. So pmon releases this lock and assigns this to next waiting process. Okay, this is the pmon. This pmon is the first background process. First background process started when database is started. This is the interview question. What is the first background process that will start when a database starts? Pmon. Okay, now there is something called as recoverer. What is this recoverer? Let us see. Next background process is recoverer. Okay, it is called as reco. What it will do? Suppose there are two servers. In between two servers, communication takes place through the network. Okay, communication takes place. Suppose a transaction is done here. For example, 5,000 is changed to 6,000. Okay, this change should also be done at the server 2. This is server 1, this is server 2. Okay, here we have given commit. Here that information is going on. Here network crashed, so that change was not happened in server 2. So here salary will be 5000 only. Okay, here transaction is committed at one side and transaction is uncommitted at another side. Okay, this is called as in-doubt transaction. In-doubt transaction. This is a distributed environment in which communication takes place between different servers. Okay, to resolve this in-doubt transactions, a background process is used, that is recoverer. What it will do? It will commit at both sides, or it will ensure that transaction should commit at both sides or transaction should uncommit both sides. Okay, it should not be commit at one side, uncommit at one side. Okay, commit at both sides or uncommitted at both sides. That will ensured by recoverer background process. Now let us see some other background process. So here there is something called as, one minute, archiver. Okay, archiver, ARCN. What this will do? When our database is in archive log mode, that means when archive log mode is enabled in our database, okay, what will happen? The log writer, anyhow log writer will flush the data into the redo log files, right? Whenever a log switch occurred and our database is in archive log mode, a background process called archiver, it will come and copy all this data in the redo log file and stores in a archive log file. Okay, these are called as offline redo log files. These files will be, these archive logs can be stored forever. Okay, it is but redo log files, after status change from current to active, active to inactive, again when log switch occur, this data will be removed. Okay, but data in archive log is permanent. Okay, this is a data file. These are redo files. Okay, this is a archiver. Now next background process that we are going to see is called as dia0. That is, what is this? This is a background process. This is a background process. What it will do? It will resolve deadlocks and it will resolve hangout of the database. Okay, deadlock occurred in the database is automatically resolved by a background process called dia0. Okay, then there is one more background process called as dbrm. Okay, it stands for database resource manager. What this database resource manager will do? It will set resource plan, our resources in the database, how they should be used. That resource plan it will generate, and according to that plan it performs all the resource management task. Okay, resource management task will be performed by the background process called dbrm, database resource. Now we will discuss one more background process called as CTWR, stands for change track writer process. Okay, what it will do? See, this is a data file. In this, these are data blocks. Okay, data blocks. Okay, suppose think that these are the modified blocks. Okay, these 5, this one, these are modified blocks. Okay, this is a unused block. These are modified blocks or used blocks. Okay, so whenever you perform rmin incremental level 0 backup, okay, it will, whenever you perform rmin incremental level 0 backup, it will back up all the used blocks, leaving behind the unused blocks. Now after that, see this, these are the modified blocks. Okay, then only here 2 blocks has been changed. Okay, only these 2 blocks has been modified after taking incremental level 0 backup. Now if you perform rmin incremental level 1 backup, what it will do? It will copy only modified blocks. Okay, it will copy only modified blocks that was modified after level 0 backup. Okay, this is called as incremental level 1 backup. But for the sake of only 2 blocks, we need to scan the entire data file, which reduces the performance. So there is something introduced from 10G called change tracking file. Change tracking file. What this file will do, all the blocks, it stores all the information about the blocks that has changed. Information about modified blocks are stored in this change tracking file. Okay, by a background process called as change track writer. Understood the concept? Okay, then the background process that we are going to discuss now is recovery writer. Okay, recovery writer. What this background process will do, see, this is a fast recovery area where all our flashback logs are stored. Okay, by using this flashback logs only, we will perform the flashback database operations, etc. Okay, so a flashback data, that is historical data, is written into this flashback logs by recovery writer. Okay, this is called as recovery writer. Okay, these are the several background process. Remaining background process we will discuss in our next session. Thank you very much for watching this video.